Happy Tuesday, everyone, from Houston, Texas. Welcome to Stellar Parenting. I'm your host. I'm Brandi Kahn. I'm an intuitive astrologer, and I also hold a Master of Science degree in psychology with an emphasis in child and adolescent development. And I'm so passionate about helping parents to custom design their parenting approach. Yes, their parenting approach based on their child's natal chart or natal horoscope. If you'd like to learn more about me, or if you'd like to work with me, please visit my website at brandicon.com. Today, we've got some fun stuff lined up for you. Towards the end of the show, I am going to talk about the weekly transits. But in case we have any new listeners here who are wondering, how in the world do you use astrology with parenting and why is that so important? That's what I'm going to share with you today. So, we're going to begin by talking about something that each and every one of us has been impacted by, and that is parenting. So, whether you are currently a parent or you hope to be a parent one day, or maybe you are just reflecting on how you were raised, parenting is the single most important influence when it comes to child development. And depending upon the influence that we experience from our parents, it could have been challenging, it could have been very nurturing, but it contributed to the individuals that we are today. And that's what makes parenting so important. So, I have something interesting to share with you. Studies from Harvard show that 90% of a child's brain development is already complete by the age of 5. And the CDC, the Centers for Disease Control, report that positive parenting practices can reduce mental health issues in adulthood by more than 40%, which is astounding. So that means all of the love, all of the attention, all of the patience, and even all of the mistakes that we make as parents, they can ripple forward into adulthood. And yeah, when I say mistakes, people might cringe, but mistakes are a normal part of the process. Nobody's perfect here, and no one expects for you to be the perfect parent. The most important thing that matters is after you make a mistake in your role as parent, how do you then decide to repair the rupture in the fabric of the relationship between you and your child? That's what matters more than anything else. So, parenting will build a child's sense of who they are, what they believe they are capable of accomplishing in the world, and whether or not they believe the world is a safe space or a safe place where they can authentically be themselves with no apologies whatsoever. But here's the tricky part, okay? It's tricky because what works for one child may not work for another child. Even among siblings, there's differences when it comes to emotional needs. And many people believe, that children don't come with instruction manuals. We're not born with instruction manuals. But I've got a secret for you. We actually do come with instruction manuals and a little bit more about this idea. So, based on the time that your child was born, the sun was in a particular location in the sky, and so was the moon and all of the other planets, which we will see in the natal chart. And the planetary placements play a huge role in determining the signature of the energetic frequency that your child will carry. And that's what makes astrology such a beautiful and practical tool. Because based on the alignment of the planets in your child's natal chart, they will come in with very particular and specific psychological needs that must be met in order for them to grow into healthy and confident adults. Now, please remember, astrology does not label your child. Astrology doesn't label. It only illuminates who they already are at a soul level. Okay. So let me give you an example. Let's say that we have a child who has a Taurus moon. Okay. Their moon is in the sign of Taurus. They are going to need consistency, safety, and comfort and stability in order to feel secure. On the other hand, let's say that we have a child who has their moon in the sign of Gemini. That child will need conversation, stimulation, change, and movement in order to thrive. But if we try to raise the Gemini moon child like we're raising the Taurus moon child, or vice versa, we might end up misunderstanding their needs. And that's even with the best of intentions. So, astrology helps us to parent the child that we have and not the child we imagined or the child we were told that we should have. And when we parent with a high level of awareness, we create emotionally resilient children. Now, a recent study found that kids who experienced responsive parenting, meaning parents tuned in to their child's unique needs, they had 25% stronger emotional regulation by the age of 7. And that's not just good for childhood, that's the foundation for healthy adulthood. And again, here's the beautiful part, it's not about being perfect, it's about being present and choosing to truly see the individual who's in front of you, the child who's in front of you, and who they were meant to be. So many of you listening, maybe you're a parent, maybe you have more than one child, or let's say that growing up you had siblings, and maybe you notice how different your children's personalities are from each other. Or if you think about you and your siblings, maybe you remember how different you guys were from each other. And astrology explains these differences with incredible clarity. So I'm going to give you a personal experience to really illustrate this point. So I'm the mother of four. And when I was potty training my oldest son years and years ago, it was a relatively easy process, but the problem was, he would go to the potty, number one, but he still wanted to use his pull up for number two. And looking back and thinking about the situation, I think he just had a lot of anxiety around the whole process. Okay. But I was growing more and more and more frustrated each and every day. So I bought every book imaginable about potty training. I tried every single process that I read about that was suggested to me, and absolutely nothing was working. So one day I noticed that my husband had left one of his medical textbooks on our coffee table, and I had an idea. I picked up the huge reference volume of internal medicine that my husband had used throughout his medical residency, and I went straight to the dermatology section. And that's where I found images on skin disorders and skin diseases. And I called my son over to me because even though he was young, he was pretty sharp, very intelligent, and he caught on quickly. He understood well. So I showed him some of the pictures and I explained to him um, that it was very important that we keep his skin clean. And the way that we were going to keep his skin clean was that, he was going to use the potty instead of his pull up. So he sat there and he listened to me. And believe it or not, he never had an accident again after that day. So after that, I thought that I was a genius. I thought I was the potty training fairy. And I figured that potty training my other three children was going to be an absolute breeze. I had figured out the answer, I had cracked the code. And I was shocked when it didn't work on the other three, not even close. And I had absolutely no idea why it worked for one and then not for the other three. So fast forward about 12 years later, I learned about astrology and I learned about how to speak to the psychological needs of each of my children individually. And that's when I had the realization that brought everything home. That realization was this. So, my oldest child, Amir, his moon is in the sign of Virgo. The moon represents our feelings, our emotions, our level of sensitivity, our intuition, but also what makes us feel safe and nurtured, what we need in order to feel secure. Moon in Virgo. Virgo is the sign of health, cleanliness, hygiene, and order. So Amir had a very deep emotional and a deep psychological need for health, cleanliness, and hygiene. And that's why the medical pictures and images worked so well for him. And when it came to my other three children, none of them had their moon in the sign of Virgo. So I was not speaking their language. For example, my daughter, I've got three boys and a girl, and my second born is my daughter. Her moon is in the sign of Taurus. Taurus is a very sensual sign. It speaks to the five senses. So, potty training for her, what I could have done was to do something to really stimulate her senses when she did what she was supposed to do. So, maybe I could have given her like a sweet piece of candy or a treat to stimulate her sense of taste. Or I could have given her one of the scratch and sniff stickers, to stimulate her sense of smell. Those would have worked well for her. But not knowing that at the time, I showed her the images in my husband's medical textbook. And it went right over her head, made no impression whatsoever because I was not speaking her language. So it's extremely important for us to understand as parents and caregivers our child's moon sign because it tells us exactly what they need in order to feel safe, nurtured, and emotionally secure. I want you to think about it as their built in emotional language. And by understanding that language, we as parents, caregivers, we can begin to provide what's necessary in order for our children to thrive. So, if you really want to know more about who your child is, what their natal chart says about them, I have my signature program. It's called Stellar Parenting Method, the Stellar Parenting Method, and it's a comprehensive 5 week program. So during week one, we're really focusing on you, the parent. We're learning about who you're meant to be through your natal chart. Because you really can't understand anyone else or your child until you first begin to understand yourself. So, week one, we focus on you as the parent. Week two, we're focusing on your child. We're going through their natal chart, figuring out what their language is. Week three, we're really focusing on how the two of you work together. Where are the rough spots? Where are the moments of beauty going to come in your relationship and the way that you interact? Week four is all about what's coming up next for you and your child. And then week five is my favorite. So, week five is a session where we are going through for you, doing a session where we are rewiring any limiting subconscious beliefs that you may be carrying that may impact the type of parent that you are, or prevent you from being the parent that you were meant to be. Okay. So, parenting is sacred work. You don't have to go at it all alone. You don't have to struggle. You can use astrology as a compass to learn about not only who you are, but who your child is at a deep level. Okay. So, if you're interested in that program, please go to my website, brandicon.com, and there's more information there. Now we're going to jump into our transits for the week. Got some really big things going on this week. So I'm going to go backwards for just a minute. Yesterday, Monday, May 12th, we had a full moon and the sign of Scorpio at 22 degrees. Now, full moons are already really emotionally heightened times. And the fact that yesterday's full moon was in a water sign, remember from earlier what I said a few minutes ago, water is about what? Feelings and emotions. So that made it even more of an emotional full moon. And then the cherry on top was Full moon was in the sign of Scorpio. Scorpio is the sign of emotional intensity. So hang on to your seatbelts. You've probably been feeling it. So, full moon was yesterday, like I mentioned. But if you have natal planets anywhere near 22 degrees of Scorpio, Taurus, Leo, or Aquarius, you probably started feeling the energy last week, probably around Wednesday or Thursday, and you will likely feel the energy this week through Thursday. Okay. And with this full moon, maybe you've been feeling a range of emotions from grief, frustration, sadness, resentment, jealousy, anger. Could have been feeling all of this and feelings about events that have happened, a long time ago, or let's say maybe a few years ago, could be coming to the surface right now of your awareness. And there may even be secrets or hidden information that you have been made aware of since the full moon. So, if this happens for you, you might find yourself really emotionally triggered. I've really been feeling the energy of the full moon. This has been a doozy. So, if you're feeling it too for the next couple days, what you can do, full moons in Scorpio. So, what we want to do, we want to shift to the opposite energy from Scorpio, which is going to be Taurus. You shift into the energy of Taurus by becoming aware of your five senses, because Taurus is a sensual sign. It's about the five senses. I want you to become aware. If you're feeling emotionally triggered, become aware, take note of what you're hearing around you. What are you seeing? What are you feeling in your body? Focusing on these things will bring you out of the emotional realm and back into the physical body and ground you in the present moment. Okay, and then it won't seem so overwhelming. Now, another thing, Uranus, the planet of breakthroughs, shocks, surprises, unexpected events, is also playing around with this full moon. So there could be an aspect of financial surprise also that's at play during this time for you. This full moon is the perfect time to release emotional patterns or beliefs that no longer align with who you are coming. So, like I said, this was yesterday. You may still be feeling it up through Thursday this week. So, keep this in mind. If you have any planets or angles, or even the North Node or the South Node around 22 degrees of Scorpio, Taurus, Leo, or Aquarius. Also, yesterday, Monday, May 12th, this is another transit. You're probably still going to be feeling this for the next few days. We had Mercury, 3 degrees of Taurus, squaring Pluto at 3 degrees of Aquarius. Mercury is the planet of communication. And in this aspect with Pluto, Mercury might make you feel drawn to have deeper conversations about things that resurfaced for you during the full moon. So maybe you want to talk more about relationship betrayal or power dynamics in your relationships. And this is a square. So there could be a lot of tension and challenge with this aspect. Keep in mind also, it's going to be easier for you to express yourself in an extreme way. We've got Pluto here, the planet of extremes, in an extreme way for the next few days. So be careful about what you say, because you can't take hurtful words back once they've been spoken. So be very mindful of that. On Saturday, May 17th, we will have the sun conjunct the planet Uranus at 27 degrees of Taurus. Now, when we're talking about the sun and Taurus, the sun is all about ego, identity, who we're meant to be, and our vitality. Taurus is an earth sign. Taurus is very grounded and rooted in the present moment, in the body, and the five senses. So when we have the sun in Taurus, this is all about stability, consistency, and safety. And just backtracking for a moment, a lot of people with strong Taurus placements get, there's this bad rap for Taurus, that they're overly stubborn. And it's not that Taurus is stubborn. Taurus has a psychological need for everything to kind of stay the same and to stay predictable. So, therefore, doing something out of the box makes them a little uncomfortable, doesn't make them stubborn. They just have a psychological need to know that everything's going to be consistent and safe and secure. So when we've got the sun in Taurus conjunct Uranus, Uranus comes into the picture. The sun is all about stability and security, and Uranus comes in. That's the planet of breakthroughs and sudden change, and all bets are off. So you're going to want to spice things up or take a new approach to how you show up with this transit. So starting around Thursday this week, I would say you might be feeling it. This is a really, um, there's the possibility during this time of breakthroughs and awakenings. So give yourself permission to do something different from the way that you've always done it. All of a sudden, you feel the need to do something a little differently, to jazz it up a little bit, go for it. Surprising offers may pop up. I want you to trust your gut feelings and be open to detours that seem exciting for you. Clear your space, clear your social feed or your schedule of anything that doesn't quite feel aligned for you. But please remember, this energy is very erratic. All right. And I don't want you to quit your job. I don't want you to suddenly break off your relationship or to make major life decisions just for the sake of freedom. Okay. So remember that with Uranus, there's going to be this electric buzz that you're probably feeling towards the end of the week where you want to break out of the box. You want to do something different. Allow yourself to do that. And then finally, on May 18th, it's a Sunday, we will have Mercury 13 degrees of Taurus, squaring Mars at 13 degrees of Leo. And I'm a little bit anxious about this transit because it will be hitting parts of my natal chart. But, awareness is our superpower. So being aware of the energy, I'll be able to navigate this a little bit easier than if I was unaware. So, Mercury is the planet of communication and our thinking processes. And Mars is the planet of action and energy and desire, how we go about things and what motivates us. And when we've got this combination, please listen to this part. It's going to be way too easy to say things impulsively without thinking first. It may be a little too easy to lash out on those around us if we are feeling frustrated and upset. Okay. And this might really show in how we are speaking to others, how we are communicating, how we are thinking, but also and how we are speaking to ourselves. This is a square. So there's going to be tension and difficulty and challenge with that Mars energy of go, 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 let's get it done, and Mercury with how we're thinking and how we are communicating. We might be really prone during this time to making quick decisions because maybe we're feeling impatient. Maybe we're feeling like something's got to get done and there's no time to waste. And this is the part I really want you to remember. Mercury, the planet Mercury, not only rules our communication and our thinking processes, Mercury also rules transportation as well. So it will be very easy, a little bit too easy to be a little bit reckless or careless, not pay attention when we are behind the wheel. And I want you to be aware of that. Awareness is going to be your superpower with this transit. So when you're behind the wheel, there's not going to be any texting. I want both hands on the wheel, and I want you all to pay attention to what's going on in front of you. And I want you to go the speed limit. Okay. Go the speed limit and be careful. This is going to be Sunday, May 18th, but I want you to really start paying attention to this maybe Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, even Monday, Tuesday of next week. But this will be a wonderful transit if you want to initiate a really direct conversation and to say what needs to be said. Because Mercury Mars aspects really support you standing up for yourself and speaking up for yourself. But use your words to protect and not to punish. Clear and honest communication will really build respect during this time. It's also a great time for persuasive writing, for debate, or passionate speech. But don't waste your energy fighting just to be right. And if you find that you're fighting just to be right, ask yourself, is this about truth or is this about control? Okay, so that wraps up our transits. I want you all to use this energy intentionally this week. And remember, the stars may guide us, but we, each and every one of you, you hold the power to shape your destiny. So do it consciously, and I'll see you back here again next week.